Welcome to another Sharing Your Passion. I have kept following my heart, and doors kept opening, and new opportunities arose, which I embraced wholeheartedly with passion and enthusiasm. Those are the words of my guest today. He's also described himself as a simple son of a Dutch pig farmer. Humility and modesty aside, my guest today is a very special man. He is a well-renowned healer and a trainer of healing. His name is Tjitze de Jong. Tjitze, thank you very much for joining me on Sharing Your Passion. Delightful to catch up with you in this way and to receive and have to be able to share some of the wisdom that you have acquired over the years in your wonderful healing practice. Now, I understand that people come from all over the world to receive your healing, to receive your training in healing. How did it all start?
How did it all start? Glenn, first and foremost, thank you for having me. Thank you for honoring me in this way, so support me in spreading the message further and further and further. But indeed, people come from all over the world for individual treatments and for training, literally from all 5 continents. And how did it start? Simply by, indeed, as you quote from that one publication of mine, by following my heart. And when my heart urged me to do a certain thing, to give up a certain job, to give up a certain place of living, to start something new and start something fresh, although it must have been totally irrational at times, I followed that path. And basically it brought me to where I am right now, in this beautiful place on the banks of River Finton, as a member of the wider Finton community, in your company this morning. So life could be a lot worse. So there is a lot to say for following my heart. And it has brought me pleasure most of the time, but it brought me definitely a fullness of life, and a fullness of life upon which I can really look back and say, wow, it's great, really great. It's a good life, it is still a good life, it has been a good life, and I will keep working towards having a good life.
What I love, Tjitze, is when you say that you wholeheartedly embrace all these new things, new opportunities with passion, with innate passion and enthusiasm.
There is no other way, because if you don't do it wholeheartedly, then part of you is not totally behind what you do, and then the law of manifestation doesn't work. You need to embrace these kind of phenomena wholeheartedly, with everything that is in your heart and soul and spirit, everything that calls you. And if that is lacking, or if it starts to slowly peter out of your life, that kind of enthusiasm, you need to look around and say, okay, what is not right here? What is going wrong? How am I not anymore in alignment? How is my spirit not in alignment with my incarnational purpose? And then, after contemplating on that and after getting to some kind of inkling of which direction that this connection may be, then change. Simply change.
You started off then as you say, the simple son of a Dutch pig farmer. How was your childhood? Were there any indications then of what was to come later?
Absolutely not. Basically, grew up in a very conventional small farm in the north of the Netherlands. Canal in front of the house, canal next to the house, as Dutch goes. In the winter, when the canal was frozen, going to school on skates, literally, yeah. But also very conservative. So when I moved, and basically my brother and my sister stayed more or less in the same area geographically, so stayed very much under my parents' wings. As the youngest son, I allowed myself more freedom. And the freedom, however funny it may sound, partly came through literature, books, reading, later also writing, and through my bicycle. because I simply cycled through the whole of Europe, and that opened me on my own, solo, from southern Yugoslavia, which was then still Yugoslavia, to the Arctic Circle in Norway, all that kind of stuff, yeah. And that opened my whole perspective to a whole wide world, to languages, cultures, meetings with people, and nobody in our little village did things like that, only me, yeah. And then at some point when I had enough from living in a small village environment, I moved to, I then worked in the bookshop, which was ideal for me, yeah. And then I could get a job in a bookshop in a bigger city in the Netherlands, city of Groningen, in the far northeast. And I lived in the city for 8 years, and it was the years of sex and drugs and rock and roll. And it was living right smack bang in the old center of the medieval city, with a coffee shop for the hash and marijuana a few hundred meters away, with the red light district in front of in the next street. So totally in a absolutely different area than a canal in front of the house, canal next to the house. So my parents raised eyebrows, my brother and my sister raised eyebrows, and oh my God, what the hell is coming from him, yeah. But again, I really embraced life over there to the full, and I learned, and I at some point quit the whole book selling career and went into social work, did a 4-year full-time study. And the day after, during these 4 years, I also started to publish short stories, poetry, book reviews, became co-editor of literature magazines, and published a novel in 1988 in my native Frisian language, not in Dutch, in Frisian. So I had a really full life. And at some point in the second year of our social work study, we had a whole semester around death and dying and grieving, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross stuff, all that kind of stuff. In that semester, I also was confronted 3 times with suicide. A good friend of mine lived opposite, committed suicide, very creative artist who simply did not fit in society. A female friend of mine committed suicide, a brilliant violin player, also an artist, yeah. And then mother of a good friend of mine committed suicide, and she came to me for advice and solace and all that kind of stuff. So at that moment, my pen was my therapist. And in order for me to work out what I had with suicide and why it affected me so strongly, I wanted to start to write a novel about this friend of mine who lived opposite. He had been to Findhorn in Scotland twice, in the beginning of the 70s and the beginning of the 80s. And for me to figure out what he might have encountered in Findhorn, I wanted to check out the community. So the day after I graduated from the 4-year full-time social work training, I stepped on a bicycle and cycled to the north of Scotland, as Dutch people do. You just step on a bicycle and go there. Yeah. And basically, of all these classmates of 4 years, I never saw any of them ever again, because my life in the city had finished, unbeknown to me, because when I arrived in the foundation, I found this whole community, which I didn't know still existed. 3 days later, I started Experience Week, and halfway the Experience Week, one of the vocalizers said to me, "This kind of life isn't strange to you, is it?" And I thought, no, it isn't. I better move here. So I went back to the Netherlands, sold all my stuff, and gave up my room and all that kind of stuff. And in 2 months later, I put 2 bags on my bicycle and I immigrated to Scotland.
Wonderful.
And then was part of this whole community, never a member of the Findhorn Foundation, but always on the edge, always on the outskirts, never been a member of the foundation. Not because I don't like it or I don't believe in it, but I flourish better when I'm not in a system. I really flourish much better when I'm going my own way and my own path. And during these 2 years 2 years I lived in Findhorn, I did a couple of massage courses just for the fun of it. Really enjoyed it. And then I ran out of money, got a social work job in Inverurie, close to Aberdeen. Did that for 2 years. And then friends of mine from Findhorn said, do you want to come to Summerling, the Tibetan center in Dumfriesshire, southwest Scotland? Because the Dalai Lama is coming there. Okay, let's go there. So, with 4 of us went on the train. It was warm and sunny over here. It was May. We came there and there was 10 centimeters of snow, because Elstimur is the wettest and coldest part of Britain. My God, did we know it. And I spent over there about 10 days, and I thought, I need to stay longer here. So from there, I rang my boss in Inverurie. He said, I'm not coming back. He said, well, it doesn't surprise me, because he knew a little bit what kind of person I was. And on my first walk over there, Glen, I saw this amazingly beautiful cottage in the middle of nowhere, on a sidetrack of a little back road, landing on a road which is 10 cars a day. So that cottage was totally remote. And when it became clear to me that I wanted to live in the area, I thought that cottage would be great to live. So I went over there and knocked on the door. And a woman opens the door suspiciously, looks at me, and said, what do you want? I said, well, I really like your place where you live. I'd like to stay in the area a bit longer. Have you got a room for me? And she looks me again up and down, and she said, you better come in. And then we had a cup of tea, as one has in Britain. And then she said, well, actually 2 weeks ago I thought to myself, I can't manage to live here. I need somebody to come and live here with me, or I need to give up my place. So I moved in. And that's the thing of following my heart and literally opening doors and following the open door. Yeah? Because it's not a done thing that you just simply knock on somebody's door and say, well, can I please live here? Yeah?
Yeah.
But out of that came the rest of my life. And then, how did I get from there to here right now with such a thriving business? Is that I started to give massages in the treatment room in Summerling, just for by donation. I didn't have any official qualification, didn't have any insurance, just enjoyed it. And the massage room then, the treatment room then, was in the old farmhouse, so full of dung and cow shit and mud, yeah, literally. So there was a very different aromatherapy, I can tell you. But as farmer's son, that was no problem for me, yeah. I did use oil to massage, not any other products, I hasten to add, yeah. But this massage became so successful, I thought, okay, let's make a business out of it. I've got enough money to live for 1 year. If I can make a living out of it after 1 year, then I keep doing it. If not, then it doesn't work. So I rented a cottage in the area, got my own treatment table, printed business cards, got an official diploma in massage, so I could get insurance. And after 10 months, I thought, oops, I'm not quite sure. But after these 10 months, also a local newspaper got hold of me and said, can we have an interview with you? Because at that moment, I was in 93, I was the only massage therapist in a wide area, because there's nothing of that kind of stuff happening then. So I did an interview, whole page, photographs, it's a local squeak, the Allendale and Eskdale advertiser, yeah, wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
And but through that, a client from Gretna got hold of me, and I sorted her out, I sorted her husband out, and she was a medical doctor in the 14 MU, a big army compound close to Carlisle.
Right.
And she suddenly sent me client after client. So since then, I've been busy, fully booked for the last 22 years. And then the fascinating stuff happened, Glenn, that weird things happened during massages. That I saw black clouds lifting out of people. That I pulled black strings out of people's throats. That all kind of strange things happened. People got better for things that went way beyond massage, and they didn't have a clue what I did in that realm. I only gave massage. And the most phenomenal story of that is that a man came for treatments, for massages, and okay, after 2 treatments he felt a lot better, and he asked, do you also work on women's? Yeah, sure. I said, wife always had a very weak immune system. She catches every virus, every bug, and she's always poorly, always has been very weak. Could you work on her? I said, sure. Gave her the first massage the next week, felt a bit better, gave her the second massage the next week. The third massage, I worked on her neck, and from the corner of my eye I saw her handbag sitting next to the chair, and through the corner of my eye I saw a big black cloud lifting up from her handbag. I had massive cold shivers running up and down my spine, and I thought, what the hell is happening now again? So yeah, just keep massaging away, yeah. And the black cloud hovered and hovered and hovered and went up, hovered underneath the ceiling for a bit and then disappeared. I thought, okay, let's see, just kept massaging away, yeah. End of the session, I asked the woman, did you feel anything specific when I worked on your neck? She said, yes, but first I'd like to discuss things with my husband. Okay, so she's going to get back next week. I was dead curious. And my first question was, did you talk about last week the massage with your husband? Yeah. She said, you know what the case is? She said, when I was born, my grandmother, who was a recognized witch, put a spell on me. That's why I've always been poorly. You've taken the spell away, I feel totally okay now.
Wow.
She paid me and she never had a fourth treatment. Never seen her again. And then me with my normal farming son common sense said, okay, if she believes that, that's fine, but at least she's better, yeah? Yeah? Because I didn't have the foggiest about that stuff. This kind of things don't exist that much in the Netherlands, much more here in this old country of Scotland. So that was fascinating. Then in Lockerbie, the famous Lockerbie, with its strange American connection through the Pan Am flight in 1988, Lockerbie Library, tiny library, 5 New Age books. One of them was the book Hands of Light by Barbara Brennan. I pick it off the shelf and I look at it and said, wow, this looks fascinating. Take it home and I read. And there suddenly were explained these black clouds and these black strings and all the kind of energetic stuff that I already dealt with through my clients, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So I thought, wow, I'm not nuts. I am not ready for psychiatry. There is something to it. I need to know more. So 2 weeks after I finished reading that book, I went to Denver for an introduction weekend.
You finished reading the book in 2 weeks. That's pretty good going. It's that sort of thing.
Yeah, I had to. Yeah. And I had no choice but to go and see Barbara Brennan to see what is this all about. Yeah. And then, there in Denver, there were a few hundred participants in that weekend, and I met Barbara Brennan, Laurie Keane, White Buffalo. God, it was just incredible. I was really shocked by the intensity and the beauty and the amazing quality of work over there. I also was shocked about the amazing cost of the 4-year healing course, which was then about $4,500 a year. It's now $8,000 or something. So, and then there was only the USA school in New Jersey, with a cup of coffee in New Jersey. I learned to speak in New Jersey, and then that applied traveling back and forth to the States 5 times a year, So there goes the farming son starts to now travel transatlantic to go to school, Hello, how weird is that in our village, and in our family.
And you continued on a massage practice
whilst
you were doing...
I had to, because I had no money.
Yeah.
I had no money, so I simply set a very strong intention to indeed keep my diary full, and every week I gave between 20 and 25 massages in order to pay for the Barbara Brennan School and all the flights and all the hotels. It was just dreadfully expensive. But my God, did it change my life for the better. And it enriched my life. And that whole spiritual connection with my guides, with the angelic realm, although I've been so connected to Finton for a long time, suddenly totally came to life in me, and I could live that, and I could give it a place, and that was absolutely fascinating. When I graduated in 2001 and returned back to Vindhorn and started a clinic over here, and it's been going from strength to strength. But also, as soon as I graduated, a rebel as I am, I started to teach weekend workshops in called Bodies of Light. It was then simply a weekend workshop, basically almost copying the introduction weekend for the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, which I had done in Denver all these years ago.
So the collation and the basic
the collation and
stuff,
chakra
chakras,
exercising and all that kind of stuff, which I was not allowed to do according to American law and according to the rules and regulations of the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, but I didn't tell anybody. Then I knew I wanted to teach more of the stuff because really I had again a passion for it, and but I could do the 2 extra years of training to become a healer, to become a teacher of Brennan Healing Science, but I needed to break after 4 years, break up the traveling, the financial pressure, all that kind of stuff. So I solidified my practice here over 3 years, and then in 2005 started with the teacher training over 2 years. Then also the European School of the Barbara Brennan had started in the meantime in Germany. So I became assistant teacher at the German Barbara Brennan School for a year, which I learned a tremendous amount. I learned tremendous amount of how to be a teacher, how to hold a group, how to hold the energy, how not to interfere with energy, that kind of whole subtle way of teaching, which I know so much put into practice. And during these 2 years, Glenn, of advanced training, of the teacher training of the Barbara Brennan School, it was my dearest wish to become a teacher at the school, at the Barbara Brennan School. Because that's basically for us lesser mortals who are not Barbara Brennan, that is almost the highest we can reach for, to become a teacher at the school, because it is really awesome. It is an incredible school. So that was my aim. I wanted to become a teacher at the school. So I did it 2 years. After graduating, Barbara Brennan did send me a contract to become a teacher, which is huge. Lots of people who do the advanced 2-year training don't get that chance. So there was really a piece of confirmation for me. Then I read through the contract and American school, American organization, American business, and I thought to myself, me, as a liberal Dutchman from Vindhorn, I don't fit in that. I simply don't fit in that kind of American system where people do, well, this is not possible and you can't say this and you can't do this. No, I can't do that. So I returned the contract and did not sign on the dotted line, although it had been really my wish for 2 years. But it didn't feel right to my heart, to my soul, to limit myself in that box.
So you followed your heart again?
I have got no choice, otherwise I get a heartache. But I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach with a passion because the work is really brilliant work. So I thought, okay, I'm going to start my own school. Shit. Well, it's quite something to set up. I started a 5-week program spread out over 8 months. Called it again Bodies of Light. Then the weekend workshop Bodies of Light, which would carry on every year, several weekends a year. That weekend workshop became then the introduction weekend Bodies of Light. And people signed up for the 8-month course, and they were enthusiastic. They were even so obedient to do the homework assignments. Because it's to have a one-man band teaching stuff, setting up the whole program in detail from hour to hour, setting up the homework assignment, all that kind of stuff, and having the space here in this room to do it. It was quite something to start. It was a big, massive step in my development. And after the 4th week, or during the 4th week of this first group, all the students said, you can teach us much more. We don't want to quit after 5 weeks. We need to learn, we want to learn more, unanimously, which is the biggest compliment I can get, very simple, So I thought, okay, I can teach them that, I can teach them that. So for the moment, okay, I'll glue another 2 extra weeks on top of that. So it became a 7-week, or spread out over 10 months healing course. which is now still in existence, and will start again next December in 3 months' time, and is again, except for one place, maybe fully booked. Yeah, it's always now booked several months in advance. So I ran that again with a passion, and my God, it's not always easy to, because at the Barbara Brennan School there were then 700 students, 700, yeah, 100 teachers, and all the support staff around it of office and logistics, all that kind of stuff, yeah. And that was quite something. So I've got a deep respect for Barbara to have started that on a small scale and made it so big. It has now shrunk tremendously back, yeah. But okay, that's now. So to do everything as a one-man band was just incredible, and still is. And the first group was really great. They were really an excellent group. They were easy. They were gentle on me. Bless them. The second group was the group from hell. My God, and the group knows it. So anybody who sees this at some point, who sees interviews, and then thinks, oh my God, I was in the second group. What do you mean? Yeah, they all know it because, my God, there were 10 women. Me as the man, as the teacher, yeah, so they can projections, yeah. If that would have been the first group of Bodies of Light, I would have quit. Absolutely, I would have quit. But because the first group was so really good and encouraging and whatever else, I continued. Yeah,
Right.
and fortunately I did, because now we're on to group 14 coming on. So then, basically, that's part of the success story, the whole Bodies of Light circus. And the treatments keep going. Clients now, indeed, as you said in the introduction, come from all 5 continents of the world. And then again, several years into Bodies of Light, I knew that I wanted to teach more and teach my students more specific skills. And when I had been assistant teacher at the Barbara Brennan School of Healing in Germany, I was assistant teacher in the 3rd year. In the 3rd year, where we learn spiritual surgery, 5th level surgery, we learn how to restructure chakras on all 7 levels of a chakra, we restructure organs on all 7 levels of an organ, all these kind of very intriguing healing skills. So I thought, okay, at some point when I feel ready, I will glue another year on top of this, the Advanced Bodies of Light, so it's the 3rd section of Bodies of Light, Advanced Bodies of Light. And after about 5-6 years of Bodies of Light, I felt ready, and I set up a totally new program, totally new homework assignments, etc. Advanced Bodies of Light, and that starts now also with group number 5, this coming October. It's a 5-week training, where people learn really intriguing stuff, and also techniques which I've developed myself over the years, and also techniques that are no longer taught or never have been taught at the Barbara Brennan School. So I really put a lot of own emphasis in it. For example, I teach the work with how to cleanse and repair relational cords between people, between people's chakras, yeah, which is no longer taught at the Barbara Brennan School, but which is such a powerful healing technique. You can really shift.
Is that all relationships or just intimate
all
relationships?
relationships. Also relationships to our parents, our children, our uncles and aunties, our bosses, every relationship. Everybody that we have communicated with at some point in our life, we have cords with. Yeah, depending on what kind of communication we had, it can either be cords to the 7th chakra, 6th chakra, 5th chakra, 4th, etc. chakra. But we have thousands of cords in our system. Yeah.
And just for people who may not quite be able to visualize what you mean by chords, Tjitze, are these sort of very fine, like strings, or how would you describe them?
Yeah, they're basically strings, energetic strings. With a normal visual perception, normal eyes, we can't see them. But if we train our extrasensory perception, our high sense perception, we can learn how to see them, or we can learn how to feel them, we can learn how to sense them. And everybody can learn that. It is not that I'm special, that that I have these gifts. Everybody
Right.
has got these gifts.
Mm.
I just developed it and made my life around it. But everybody can learn it. And these energetic chords, these energetic streamers of energy between people have got a lot of impact on us. So that's how we get into repetitive patterns. Into repetitive patterns in a relationship, in repetitive patterns that we copy what we have expected and not received from our parents, what we then want from our partners, these kind of things. Yeah, all that codependency stuff. That sits in the relational chords. So the potential of chord healing is huge. So when I realized that it was no longer taught at the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, I wondered, why? Why not anymore? So I made it part of the program here, and for the students who do Advanced Bodies of Light, it is really one of the highlights of that advanced program, to learn these skills. And so basically, Glenn, that's where I'm at now. It is beginning of June 2016. And that's how this whole development has spread and deepened and widened, and it's still a good life.
Beautiful.
That's my story.
Now, we're in your lovely home doing this interview here, and that in itself, I think, is another story. You told us earlier about how you knocked on the door of the lady at the cottage and said, you know, I'd like to live here.
Yeah.
Tell us how you came by this place, because I think that's a similar synchronicity, isn't it?
Yeah, this house was for sale, and it was during the housing boom. So houses went like anything. English expression, but what's that? Houses were sold willy-nilly, very quickly. This house didn't. We had a house bought together with him, then partner Arlene, number 1 Pilmere Road in Forest, beautiful old Victorian villa. But I knew I wanted to expand. We wanted to expand the B&B side of it, and I wanted to start teaching and have a proper teaching room. So we saw this house for sale, which had 6 bedrooms and potential. So this big room, which is about 8.5 meters by 5 meters, were then 3 bedrooms next to each other. So we saw the potential. I thought we'd like to buy it, but we couldn't afford it because the price was way too high. It was much bigger than our house in Forest. Then our house in Forest, there were a few people really interested, so the price went up. Then this man who lived here, a severe alcoholic with his daughter, with a long-haired dog and not a good cleaning regime in the house, to put it mildly. Yeah. So the house was filthy. He smoked in the house. It stank. Yeah. It was really horrible. So I can really see why people didn't want to buy it. Yeah. So we said to him, okay, we're going to buy the house, but we want to reduce the price by 35,000. He looked at us and said, okay.
Wow.
So we dropped the price, and then we could just afford it with a top mortgage. Again, a big risk, but it simply felt right. And
it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. And now this is really a house of transformation, where a lot of individuals, either through individual sessions or through the Bodies of Light training or other weekend workshops, where they really transform a lot of their life. And surrounded by barley fields, the fairy woods across the barley field, the Findhorn River bank. So it's a very still and tranquil place over here. And this room is really good because it got light coming from all directions. We put double glazing in this room, quadruple glazing, not to keep the noise out, although that's a bonus, but to keep the noise in. Because people do cathartic work, they scream and yell and howl in grief and agony and rage. And if the neighbors would hear it, they might well ring the police, but the neighbors can't hear it because it is well enclosed. So it's a very safe place for people to indeed let rip for whatever reason. And people sense the safety. And so the depth of work is phenomenal. And therefore one of my privileges of doing this work is the depth of trust people put into this place, into my work, into myself as a person. And that, Glenn, feels just awesome. That depth of trust.
Beautiful.
And it
Beautiful.
is for group work the same as individual work. It's just awesome. Yeah.
Fantastic. For the moment, Tjitze, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.